Jimmy Garoppolo isn't on the Niners anymore. He just takes shots at Kyle Shanahan. He's been taking shots since last year, since he said his plays freaking suck, which they may or may not. I don't know. But Jimmy said it, and I respect that. Kind of like how Sting's still making music, and I respect that, but I don't really listen to it. Anyway, so Jimmy
Good
Garoppolo
reference.
recently.
That's a good reference.
I was wondering if you would notice. So Jimmy
Of
Garoppolo
course.
recently was asked about the Niners quarterback situation, and he called it weird. And he was being interviewed by someone from Sports Illustrated, and they kind of like paused and laughed, and like Jimmy was like, "Why would like, is that not fair?" And the guy was like, "Well, I'd call it kind of messy." And Jimmy's like, "Yeah, that's the nice way to put it." So like, it's a real shot at the biggest shot at Kyle Shanahan, one of his former players, I think, has ever taken. Kyle's kind of a made man, but then again, so is Jimmy. So here's what Kyle said today in response.
The comments are the comments. I'm really not concerned about his comments.
Do you feel any relief? Do you sense that this kind of era of lots of changing is over?
I mean, the era of changing is, when we got here, we waited 10 weeks and made a trade for a quarterback, played 5 games, and then we made him the highest paid quarterback of all time at the time. Then he played 2 of the next 5 years and did really good in those 2 years. His injuries for 3 of those 5 years were legit. It was rough on him, rough on us. And then we made a move to go to a younger quarterback, and that's what we did. We thought he'd be ready in 2 years, and he wasn't. And now we have a different younger quarterback. So that's the situation.
Speaking of, Jimmy did say, it's been a weird situation over there.
Last one, guys.
Obviously, it's not the way you drew it up, but can you acknowledge that, yeah, it kind of has been a weird situation here last few years?
Kind of fair.
Yeah, I think anytime you trade up to the 3rd pick in the draft and it doesn't work out, that's the weird situation.
It is weird.
That is the situation. So that's what happened. I don't think it's that weird. It's unusual
It's
that
not
doesn't
that
work
weird.
out.
But what you said, it was weird.
I wouldn't
Now it's
think
not
that's
weird.
weird. I think it's unusual.
It's not weird. Okay, so it's unusual.
What do you think?
The fact that he said goodbye, the day after that one season
What
over.
do you think?
All the things that happened with him.
You know why that
physically.
happened,
he
right?
comes back, he's, on the side field and ends up re-signing and starting, and it just seems like, it's been a unique.
Do you remember why that happened?
I remember why everything happened, but I'm just saying it's been a unique situation.
I agree. It's been unique.
Unique.
Thanks, guys.
So that's the word. It's so funny. Like he like a guy who says he has a poor vocabulary. Then he says, yeah, it's kind of weird. And then he goes, no, it's not weird. It's not weird at all. And then he's like, no, it's unique. That was so funny to me. Why do you think Kyle is so upset about Jimmy Garoppolo's throwaway line?
I think because this goes back to maybe 2 years ago when they drafted Trey Lance, and the conversations that you and I had during that time was, it really seems like the locker room looks at Jimmy Garoppolo as the leader and not Kyle Shanahan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that showed itself with now revisionist history is the finger, but reality is Shanahan did try to mix in Trey Lance into the offense, and the players did not want to. They got vetoed.
Yeah,
so
got vetoed.
I think that's really what it is it's like, listen, I've got this guy here that everybody on the team loves. I'm tired of freaking hearing about him. I think I got a better player for cheaper, and I've done the right move. Like, why can't you praise what we've done in making the right move and getting the better player? Why does it always have to go back to this MFer is the way that I see it. There's definitely frustration there.
Yeah, but I feel like Kyle's been taking shots at Jimmy gratuitously for a while. Like, for example, at the owners' meetings, someone brought up Jimmy, and they talked to him, and Kyle just out of nowhere was like, oh, well, you must have talked to Jimmy in person, though, because he doesn't call anyone back or text anyone back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you leave him alone, man? That's not your quarterback anymore. So he keeps making these, like, little shots like Jimmy's not the most professional quarterback. He's no Kirk Cousins. He's not the most dedicated. It's like, all right, man, you made your point. And so now Jimmy Garoppolo, who's pretty much taken the high road in public the entire time. He did say your plays freaking suck, man, but he didn't know people were gonna be reading his lips, but whatever. He finally does an interview, answers a question about the Niners, and kind of with a smile on his face, it's like, yeah, man, they don't really know what they're doing at quarterback over there, essentially. And Jimmy has a lot. I mean, he's won a lot of games. He came from New England. He has a pretty good reputation. It's right there with Kyle's. Maybe not in Kyle's eyes, but when Jimmy says it, it feels like it kind of gives a green light to other people to say it too. And I feel like Kyle has had such a shield around him for years, maybe since 2019, where you can't really criticize anything. Since 2016. How about this? How about that? Can't really criticize him at all. And now, I mean, a quarterback that he gave like $100 million to is starting to do it. Matt Ryan didn't even do it. I think that's not good. So from Kyle's perspective, he probably could have handled it a little more gracefully than what he did. You know, he said, what did he say? He said, we made him the highest paid quarterback of all time after 5 games, and then he played 2 of 5 seasons.
3 of 5 years, yeah.
And he's like, oh, those injuries were legit, but that's how you feel about him. We gave you more money than you ever deserved, and you didn't show up. Now, you have your excuses or whatever, but someone that well paid is supposed to be there, and you weren't, and it's your fault. It's like, okay, it's Jimmy's fault that he got hurt. It's Trey's fault that he got hurt. It's everyone's fault that you ended up here. It's not a weird situation. It's just a unique situation, whatever you want to call it, man. Like, I think most people would agree with Jimmy in the assessment. No, it's weird. And I think that's what upsets Kyle. Everyone is starting to see that as good as he is, dude, he is way off at court. Like, he doesn't know what the hell he wants. That's what's weird about it. One day you want Jimmy Garoppolo. Next day you want the opposite of Jimmy Garoppolo. The next day you want Jimmy Garoppolo Jr. at a discount. Like, decide. And like, if you don't want Trey anymore, get rid of him in a timely fashion. If you don't want Jimmy anymore, don't hold on to him for a long time. Like, that's another thing that's super weird about how you got rid of Jimmy and Trey. Both of them feel wronged by both of them. And it's crazy for Kyle to stand up there and be like, I'm so happy for Trey. He looks happy. Yeah, to be away from you.
Yeah, he looks very happy, actually.
He like doesn't have a grudge against Trey. He knows he messed up with Trey, but with Jimmy, he has a total grudge. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, when you look at this situation with he and Jimmy, he's been taking a lot of shots at Jimmy. And it's like the person on Twitter, and you have this, we all have this, that takes shots. Maybe you have them muted or you always ignore them. And then one day you fire back and they're like, oh my, what did I do? All I said was this. And it's like, no, bro, you've been taking shots for 7 weeks. And I just responded. And guess what? When I respond, I'm not responding on your level. I'm taking it up a notch. And that's the way it's going to be because you don't set the parameters anymore, right? And so that's the way I feel. And like I've been
playing
like
nice because I've been like on your team and in your organization and trying to be, you know, like the face of the organization. But none of that got me anywhere. I'm over here now. And I just
you know what I would wonder
question.
though, Grant? If Jimmy hadn't played so well in those joint practices, do you think he would have been as bold as he was there? Or do you feel like that kind of gave him some feel like, yeah, dude, I came out here and balled against your defense with the play calls that I like. Yeah. And you're stuck over there with the guy that played like crap against my defense. Good luck with that.
I think from Jimmy's perspective, he's like, look, man, I'm the leader you wish you were, Kyle. Okay. You may be like this play caller or whatever. You know, I'm a quarterback. You're a play caller. I'm a leader. You're not. So now you're going to have to find someone else to lead this Super Bowl ready team. And I don't know that it's 23-year-old Brock. You know what I mean? It might have to be Fred Warner or Nick Bosa or someone like that. But I'm going to be leading the Raiders. And all I know is when we met up in those joint practices, my team was more prepared. My team kicked your team's ass. And sure, it was just the offseason, but you can see what I can do for a team. You know what I mean? Let's see what you can do for a team beyond play calling.
I also think Jimmy has like a built-in advantage here in the sense that as long as the 49ers don't win the Super Bowl, he's still held high in this regard. The only way that Jimmy gets knocked down a peg is if the 49ers win the Super Bowl. And the odds of that happening are in his favor.